All right, for this lesson on parallel structure, what we're trying to focus on is making your writing as clear as possible by keeping your sentences parallel. So we got to learn what that is. All right, so what parallel structure means is that there's a sentence that has compound parts to it because of the use of coordinating conjunctions, those fanboys words, or because there's a comparison word like than or as. So you're trying to make sure that you are expressing each part in parallel ways. So in this first example, we have a non-parallel sentence. My mom is smart, kind, and she listens patiently. Notice we got that fanboys word and we have three different parts to the sentence. We got three sections: smart, kind, and she listens patiently. But if you'll notice, the third section doesn't quite sound like the other two. When we make it parallel, we say my mom is smart, kind, and patient. So, in order to make something parallel, you try to make it match. You match adjectives with adjectives, adverbs with adverbs, and nouns with nouns. So, the first sentence wasn't parallel because we had two adjectives, and then we had an independent clause. The second sentence was parallel because we changed the third part to another adjective. My mom is smart, kind, and patient. Now, you're also supposed to try to keep your verbs parallel. You try to keep the tenses the same. You try not to use one infinitive and one gerund. You match them. So, this first example is not parallel. My mom likes to ski, paint, and fishing. So the first two actually are using the word to ski, to paint. But we can't say to fishing. That doesn't really work. So we're going to change the third one to make it match the other two. We can make them all three gerunds. My mom likes skiing, painting, and fishing. Or we can make them all three infinitives. My mom likes to ski, paint, and fish. Notice I didn't need to say to each time because the first part of the sentence applied to all three parts there. All right, more verbs. We need to match verbs that are active and passive. So we don't want to have one active and one passive in the same sentence in two different parts. So this first example shows two active and one passive. The man jumped from his seat, pointed at the rat. Those are both active things that the man's doing. And tears fell from his eyes. Notice that that third one is the passive. It's not the man doing it. It's things happening to him. To make it parallel, the man jumped from his seat, pointed at the rat, and began to sob uncontrollably. So all three of those are the active voice. We also want to try to have our clauses, our groups of words, match by having the same types of clauses. We want to have adverbial clauses or adjective clauses or noun clauses. We don't want to switch back and forth between one and the other. So, here's a non-parallel sentence. The coach told the players that they should get a lot of sleep, that they should not eat too much, and to do some warm-up exercises before the game. So the third one should have had a that in there as well. In fact, we could have used that and then applied it to all three. We'll see that later on. The next one says the coach told the players that they should get a lot of sleep, that they should not eat too much, and that they should do some warm-up exercises before the game. So all of those use the word that and have the same structure. This one is parallel, and it's even better because it uses that to apply to all three, so it's less wordy. The coach told the players that they should get a lot of sleep, not eat too much, and do some warm-up exercises before the game. We don't need to say that each time because it applies to all three. All right, when using parallel comparisons, be sure you're comparing equal items. The first one's not parallel. The climate in San Diego is much more mild than living in the mountains or the desert. So living is not the same as the climate. You'll see. In this next example, makes it parallel. The climate in San Diego is much more mild than the climate in the mountains or the desert. Now we're comparing climate with climate, not climate with living. Another not parallel example, the gummy bears at Sprouts are much better than getting them from a package versus the gummy bears at Sprouts are much better than the packaged ones. All right, so we